Welcome to workout number 24. Today's workout is our mobility workout. So we're going to be focusing on doing 3 mobility exercises from a seated position. The first one is going to be focusing on the chest with seated angels. So we're going to have the arms so that they're parallel to one another, and then we're going to reach up towards the ceiling as we maintain that parallel position, and then lower down, same thing, trying to keep the arms parallel towards one another. You can use like the back of your chair, or if your chair is against a wall, you can use the wall to give you some feedback as well. So the further back the elbows are, the more of a stretch we're going to feel, but we really want the arms to stay parallel towards one another, not kind of reaching towards one another at the top. Something else that you can use to bring a little bit deeper into the chest mobility is to hold on to something, and this is going to ensure that your arms stay the same distance apart the entire time. So you can use a PVC pipe like this, or you can use a broomstick handle, anything that's long. So I'm going to bring the bar so it's going to come behind me to bring my elbows down, and then reach up, and we'll feel this big stretch in my chest, and then coming back down. So the pipe is going to keep me ensuring that my hands are going to be the same distance the whole time, as opposed to without it, you may have this tendency where they come a little bit closer together. The next movement we have is going to be thoracic mobility. So we're going to come to a seated position. I'm going to put my hands onto my knees, and first I'm going to round in my back as I tuck my chin, and then I'm going to come forward, almost like pulling forward with my hands to arch in the back. And so I'm going to go back and forth in each direction. Next, we're going to do thoracic rotation. So I'm going to place my hand on the outside of the opposite knee, and then I'm going to rotate to open up, and then bring the other hand to the outside of the knee and rotate to open up. If you find that that's too intense, you can put the hand on the inside of the same side knee, and that won't bring you quite as deep into the rotation. Holding onto the opposite knee is going to give you more leverage to bring you a little bit deeper into that rotation. Throughout pregnancy, it's still important to find rotation in our spine. We don't necessarily want like deep abdominal compression to be happening, but we do want rotation in the thoracic spine, because when we don't rotate or we don't twist, it can actually cause more issues. So it can increase pelvic floor tension and issues. It can cause low back pain. It can cause neck pain or even leg pain. And so it's really important that we still have a very mobile spine to include rotations even during pregnancy. The last movement that we have for thoracic mobility is going to be side bending. So I'm going to keep this hip down as I reach up to the ceiling, and then I'm going to reach across. And if you have like an armrest, you can lean on it as well, and maybe even use it to give you some leverage. And then I'm feeling a big stretch through this side body. So I'm going to breathe here for 30 seconds, and then we'll switch and we'll do 30 seconds on the other side. The final movement that we have is going to be focused on the hips. We're going to do seated figure 4. So I'm going to bring my ankle on top of my knee, and then I could either stay here or I can shift forward in the back to put more weight into my legs, and it's going to bring me deeper into this stretch. So the more I kind of round in my back to come forward, the less I'm going to feel it in the hips. So I want to think hinging forward, so I'm just trying to bring my belly towards my thighs, is going to bring me a lot deeper into the stretch. So we'll do 30 seconds on this side, and then we'll switch sides and we'll do 30 seconds on the other side. And you may find that one side is a lot easier to get into than the other. So for today's workout, we're going to do 2 rounds of 30 seconds each, but know that you can pause the video and stay longer in each of these movements. It's going to start with the chest angels from a seated position, our thoracic mobility from a seated position, and then we'll finish up with the figure 4. So starting round number 1 with our chest mobility. So you can use a PVC pipe or you cannot. I'm going to reach overhead first to feel this stretch in my arms, maybe push my chest forward a little bit, coming down, keeping the hands the same distance either with or without the pipe. Think squeeze elbows into your side, and then reaching forward. So same thing, I'm kind of keeping my hands a little bit behind me as I do this, and it's going to bring me deeper into the stretch. The other thing that's important is to keep the rib cage down. So I don't want to be thrusting the ribs up as I bring it down. So keep the ribs down as I lower it down, feel that stretch in the chest, and then come back up. Moving on to thoracic mobility. So first we'll start with flexion and extension. I'm going to place my hands on top of my knees, and I'm going to pull myself forward and then push myself back. So arching in the back, looking up at the ceiling, feeling more of a stretch in the front side of the body, and then rounding in the back, tucking the chin, finding that extension, and then that flexion. So only moving to a level of depth that feels good for you. You may find that this extended position puts a lot of strain on the belly, especially during pregnancy or that early postpartum period, or you may find that you're almost like cramping in this rounded position. So go to a level of depth that feels good for you. Next, we'll move into those rotations. So you can either put the hand on the inside knee or the outside knee for more leverage. Hand on the back of the head, and you're gonna begin to rotate in one direction and then switch to the other side. So if you want less leverage or less of a twist, put the hand on the inside knee. And then rotating into the other way. And again, this rotation is happening in the upper back, so it's pretty safe for pregnancy. So we do want to twist in pregnancy. We don't want to have deep abdominal compression where we're compressing onto our belly. And so this is going to be a great thing to do to keep your spine moving, to keep you comfortable. And then moving into that side body stretch. So I'm gonna reach up to the ceiling and then lean away, either putting my arm down on my legs or onto the armrest if you're using armrest. So I'm thinking reach, keeping this hip down, feeling that stretch in that side body. Big inhale to feel the ribs almost expand and move away from one another. And then exhale, sink a little bit deeper into the stretch. The other thing that you can do is you can push the chest away from in front of you, and it's gonna bring it a little bit more into those lats as well. So big inhale, exhale, release. Big inhale, exhale, release. Switching to the other side, so putting your arm on the armrest or down on your leg, reach up to the ceiling, and then we're gonna lean away. Really push that hip down into the floor. So big inhale to feel those ribs expand, and then exhale, sink a little bit deeper. And if you want, we can push the chest away so that we're just gonna bring a little bit more into the lats. Big stretch here, keep that hip down. Almost like pushing the ribs to that opposite wall. Moving on to the final movement, which is gonna be that figure four. So bring the ankle on top of the knee. You can come a little bit towards the edge of your seat and then hinge forward at the hips to come deeper into it. You may find that being here is enough for you, but we wanna lean forward if you wanna move deeper into this movement. So big inhale, down into that pelvic floor to feel it stretch and lengthen, and then exhale, sink deeper. Switching sides. So placing the ankle on top of the other knee. And so for me, the right leg doesn't move into external rotation quite as easily, and it may be the same for you. So sinking forward, feeling more of a stretch in that right hip. You can think almost like drive the right hip forward. That's gonna make it a little bit easier to find that external rotation. So hinging forward at the hips, big inhale, exhale, let go. You can even take your other arm and push down around the knee area to kind of bring you deeper into this movement also. Moving on to round number 2. And again, if you want to stay in any of these a little bit longer, feel free. We don't have to do just the 30 seconds. So reaching up overhead, arms are parallel. We're going to lower down and then reach back up. So almost like push your head through the window, bringing the thing down to feel more of a stretch in that chest, and then reach back up. And if you find any sticky points or points that feel a lot more tight, you can pause there and breathe, and then continue to move. Moving on to our thoracic mobility. So placing the hands on the knee, we'll start with that flexion extension. So arching in the back and then extending. So round in the back, tuck the chin, and then reaching forward and look up to the ceiling. And again, finding a level of depth that feels good for you. So we don't want to be straining in either end range or feeling like our abdomen is cramping while we're rounding. So extension to a point that feels comfortable in your belly, and then around until you feel like your back is expanding. Moving into those thoracic rotations. So more leverage is gonna be the outside knee, less leverage is gonna be the inside knee. So placing the hand wherever feels good for you. And then begin to rotate to open up in one direction, and then switching sides. So again, twisting in the spine is really important, both through pregnancy and the postpartum. If we have a restriction in thoracic mobility, which includes the flexion, extension, rotation, and lateral side bending, we tend to have more low back pain, maybe more hip pain. How our rib cage is positioned influences our pelvic position, which can influence our pelvic floor's function. So you can see that we're very connected throughout our entire body. Moving on to that side bend. So placing the hand down either on one leg or the armrest, reaching up to the ceiling, and then we're gonna lean away. So take your big inhale to feel the rib cage expand, and then exhale to release. And so lateral side bending is also a part of thoracic mobility. So the ability to flex and extend our spine, or arch and bend or round. We want to be able to rotate in the thoracic spine, so that upper back, the degree of rotation of the thoracic spine is almost double of the lumbar or lower back. And then lateral side bending is usually a portion of thoracic mobility that most folks don't realize is a part of it. And then switching sides, so placing the hand or elbow either on the forearm or onto your leg, reaching up to the ceiling, and then leaning away to feel more of a stretch in the side body. You can think push the chest away to bring it more into the lats. We tend to have more compression to the right side of our body, and so you may have just more like right rib pain due to that. And so doing these type of movements can really help to release that tension in the side body. Sometimes our rib pain is due to compression as opposed to too much stretching. Finishing up with the final movement, which is that figure 4. So coming towards the edge of your seat, ankles on top of the knee, and then you can use that other arm to push down into the knee to bring you a little bit deeper into it. So hinging forward at the hips, left leg tends to more easily externally rotated than the right side, so you may find the left side is easier for you. The way that the pelvis tends to position itself allows us to find external rotation more easily on the left. And so these are just things to kind of pay attention to what's happening in your body. If you're like, wow, the left side is way easier than the right, maybe we want to spend more time on working on hip positioning and external rotation for the right side. Switching to the other side. So if you look at my right leg, you can see how much higher it sits than my left side. And so this is something for me that I like to work on. So I'm gonna hinge forward at the hips, push down into the knee, and then big inhale down into that pelvic floor. Exhale, release, maybe sink a little bit deeper. And so again, the right side has a harder time usually finding external rotation because the pelvis tends to be more positioned for an easier time of internal rotation on this right side. So working on ensuring that I could find full pelvic range of motion and hip range of motion is going to be important, both during pregnancy and in the postpartum period. So this concludes workout number 24. We have one more workout left of our 25-day challenge, and know that all these videos are gonna stay up on our YouTube channel, so you can always watch them over and over again, or you can reference them in the future. If you like this mobility workout, check out our yoga on demand videos and our pelvic floor prep for birth course. We also have an early postpartum recovery course that includes a lot of pelvic floor movements as well. All of these movements are going to be focusing on your thoracic positioning, your pelvic positioning, because the two of them really work together to influence our pelvic floor's function, both during pregnancy into the postpartum period. If you like this workout video, make sure you like and subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to give you free content like this as our channel continues to grow and grow.